Now, once again, Raymond Arroyo.
Welcome back to The World Over Live. Our personal information is being compromised everywhere with catastrophic results. Social Security numbers, addresses, credit and banking info. Now it appears that a little-known government agency has been collecting much of your personal financial information under the guise of consumer protection. Do you feel protected? Here to share what he's uncovered about the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, please welcome back to the desk, member of the House Budget Committee and Committee on Foreign Affairs, Congressman Sean Duffy. Sean.
Raymond.
Now, where did this group come from? This sounds like something that's to our benefit.
It really does. It was created in the 2010 Dodd-Frank legislation.
Okay.
It's a new agency that is very powerful, unaccountable to Congress. They don't get their funding through us. They get it through the Fed. And they are going out there collecting a lot of information that Americans don't know about.
Their stated purpose is what?
To protect consumers.
From fraud?
On the financial sector. It's the Financial Consumer Protection Bureau, the CFPB.
Okay. I want to go back because you found that this group began contracting, this Consumer Protection Bureau was contracting with an outside group to collect information. What sort of information are they in possession of?
So we first found out that they were collecting virtually every credit card and the data on that credit card in America. 850 million credit cards. You probably have more than one, Raymond. That's why there's 850 million.
Thank you. 51.
51, that's right. And the problem is, most Americans, if you ask them, are you okay with this agency having your credit card information? Most Americans, who this agency is supposed to protect, would say, no, that's personal information. I don't want you to have it. Now, we want them to be able to sample data quickly to look at the market and make good rules and regulations. But they're taking all of it virtually, Raymond.
And they're holding this granular data.
And they're holding it. Great concern. So I've introduced a bill. It made it through committee. It's passed through the House to make this agency actually ask the American consumer, to which they're supposed to protect, for their permission before they collect their data.
Now, they also are monitoring bank transfers, and there's no consent necessary?
No consent necessary. Well, so what happened is we found out that they actually have gone a step further. They've teamed up with FHFA, the Federal Housing Finance Agency.
Okay.
And what they're doing is they're putting together a mortgage database.
For what purpose?
Well, that's a good question. For what purpose are they collecting all this information? But what's more troubling is what are they collecting on the American citizenry? They're collecting your date of birth,
okay,
your social security number, your race, your religion, the coordinates for your home, the number
the GPS coordinates for the house,
the age of your children and the number of your children. Listen,
and they have all your banking transactions and purchases.
They have a majority of those as well. And so our question is, why do you want all this information on the American citizenry? Think over 200 years ago, our founders pushed back to protect the American citizens from an invasion of their privacy, a protection of their privacy within their homes. And our federal government has gone multiple steps further. Think of how outraged Americans were when they found out that the NSA was collecting information on their phone records,
right,
and on their emails. You can get far more information about who Raymond Arroyo is by how you spend, when you spend, where you spend, and how they use it is the question.
So they can basically track your whereabouts by seeing your spending habits and tracking your charges.
Absolutely, and they can find out what makes you tick by how you spend.
Okay, so let's say I'm going to play devil's advocate here.
Play it.
So what? So they've got all this information. NSA has all this all of our internet and telecommunications contacts, all of that data. What is the danger of this group, this Consumer Protection Bureau, having this information?
Well, they might say, there's none, Raymond. We're using this to protect you from big, bad banks.
Okay.
But the question becomes, what if you have nefarious purposes for this data? How is the government using this data to impact you? We all thought the IRS is a great agency. It's, well, not a great agency, but it's using its power to collect taxes and revenue to help run the federal government. We soon find that agency is using this information and this data to target conservatives. How they use the information, we don't know. I think the main point is that Americans did not give them permission to take it, and if you ask them, they would say, no way, Jose.
And as a member of Congress, you don't know who has access to it, or do you?
Well, there's a wide swath of people in the FHFA and the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau that do have access, as low as interns that have access. But here, one of our concerns is the security of this data. We see stories and hear stories of the Chinese and the Russians trying to access our government databases. This one is not very secure. It is a huge swath of information on the American people that these outside entities can access and do great damage.
Now, they have said publicly, and when this first came to light, they said there's no personal identifying information attached to this data.
So don't worry. And then we found out that if I have your Social Security number and your date of birth, and the names and ages and the number of your children, and the coordinates, the GPS coordinates for your house, that is personally identifiable information, to which we said, how can you come in and tell us one thing, and a few months later we find out that wasn't true?
Yeah.
You haven't been forthright with us. Yeah. And I think, Raymond, if the American people fully knew this story about the information the government had on them, they would be outraged. The problem is the story hasn't been told.
What can you do about it?
Well, so what we've done is, I've done the one part with the credit cards. Okay. We're going to introduce additional legislation to try to stop these agencies from collecting this data and keeping it. And by the way, they keep this information in this new, the Federal Mortgage Database.
Is this a hub? Is this one of these information hubs?
Absolutely. Forever. In perpetuity.
They don't scrub them.
They don't scrub them. And it's one thing they said, we only took it for a month,
so
and we scrubbed it.
So let's look into the crystal ball. How could this be used? Do you see a political end here? Could political campaigns tap into this? Could an administration, now or in the future, use it as a way to target enemies or to discern facts about a particular person?
Listen, we've seen government agencies being used for political purposes. And if you look at how campaigns use information, now I'm just speculating, you asked me to do that. If you look at this database and the kind of information you can glean from that data on what will motivate, what will drive people to the polls, what will get them to come to your issues, that is powerful information. And if you're a campaign...
And their purchasing habits, their wants and likes.
That is huge information. Yeah. If you look at that, Raymond, and you're able to look at what the government has done as a campaign, because you have access to it, you can go recreate it far more easily. It's almost like you've stolen the keys, and you go recreate it. So yeah, we've seen the government, and especially whether it is the IRS or others, use government agencies and information for political purposes. This agency is ripe with this data to use it for nefarious and political purposes.
We were talking earlier, you believe that there are other private organizations, not government entities, but private organizations, some of whom no doubt are already contracted with these government agencies, to collect data from schools on our children. What is this about?
Well, so I'm a father of 7, so this concerns me. We just talked about what the government is collecting on us, but this is now we're going into the private sector. Many parents and grandparents don't know that the schools to which their children go,
public schools or any school,
public and private, will contract with an outside company, say Google, and they'll contract for an information system that'll help manage all the information of the children
in the school,
and they get it for free, Raymond. But if you read the fine print, it really isn't free, because the companies that give the information system take the data on the kids, and they'll get test scores, they can get grades, they can get attendance records. You might go, well, that's not that big of a deal. But they can also get, what are the disciplinary actions? What are the family relationships? Private information on our children. And oftentimes, Raymond, the schools don't know, but the parents don't know that their children's information is being mined for marketing and research purposes.
And this could come back and bite them later when they're seeking employment, even with the government. Well, this could be a
little Johnny, has disciplinary problems in 4th and 5th grade, and maybe not so wonderful grades. And this compilation of this data could be sold to future employers or future universities. And most parents would say, listen, leave our kids alone. So I guess I would, to all your viewers, check with your school systems, see what kind of system they're using, and check out the privacy of your child's information.
And are you attempting to create legislation that might cordon this off and protect it from this kind of mining?
Yeah. So right now there's a discussion draft that would protect children from this data mining and gathering in the Senate. There is an exploratory group working in the House to get this right, because again, Parents don't know. And again, as parents, we want to protect our kids. You can come after us, especially if we have agreed to it.
Yeah.
But the children haven't agreed, the parents haven't agreed, and oftentimes the kids, the school system hasn't agreed.
Yeah.
And so when they tell you it's free, oftentimes it isn't free.
Or apparently if they tell you they're protecting you, it's not, protection.
They're selling it and they're profiting from it.
Congressman Sean Duffy, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Raymond.
You can follow Sean Duffy's work on behalf of Wisconsin 7th at duffy.house.gov.